contains basically traffic violations.
What is
and
it
now
with
what
all
the
the
driver
car
is doing
chasers
is
lately?
endangering
What are people?
everybody's life by continuing to drive in a wanton disregard for speeds and lane changes. Ultimately, what we found out in these cases is the driver may just have a suspended license or have some warrants for unpaid traffic tickets.
Oh, that would be a shame to be so nervous to be to pull over because you're
failure to yield for unsafe lane swaps.
Something. I mean, it's not trivial, but something as minor as parking tickets or expired driver's license.
He's in a lot more trouble now.
You no kidding.
As he made his way past the 118 freeway where it splits, and now you can see where the 5 splits rather, and now he is on the 5 freeway where traffic has broken through a little bit. Really stop and go traffic as we make our way further north through the Sylmar area and eventually into the Newhall Pass, which appears to be the direction he's headed in.
Well, it's traffic to be following like down the highway, to be honest.
But has not gotten off at any of them, just using whatever space he can on the freeway to try and squeeze through, splitting lanes, threading the needle, coming very close, a lot close calls, but from my vantage point has not actually made contact with any of these cars. And with all of this traffic, you can see them applying a little more pressure, trying to stay right behind him and trying to prevent him from getting too far away where they lose a visual. They don't want to lose a visual of the suspect because right now there are no air units handy. From what I can tell,
no air
able to call this pursuit from the air. So they're really relying on that SUV right behind him to maintain a solid visual and call out those locations and his moves and his speed as he continues moving up the 5 freeway, which is now where we're at here, right?
And they just passed San Fernando, which is where it's pretty close to where Air 1 pulls from.
Again, moderate through the Newhall Pass, usually a little bit heavier.
So they're deliberately not picking up
this.
He
does have some room to play with here, and he is using every bit of it to try and evade that primary officer right behind him. Again, only 2 or 3 officers in this pursuit. California Highway Patrol, the lead agency here, as that Volkswagen Passat, the driver of that Passat, refusing to give up.
Watching them weave in and out of traffic and hopscotch around makes your palms sweaty. It's really erratic
the
driving.
smog.
And a couple times looks like
fucking smog camera,
so,
dude.
He's certainly desperate to get away from CHP, and it's going to be a tough one to lose him because, you know, where's he going to go?
Yeah,
and Bruce,
we can maybe bring Bruce back in. Bruce, we're watching the CHP, and they're navigating those highways. They're, of course,
let
very
Andy
well
talk.
trained. Most drivers are, you know, civilian drivers are not so well trained. But at what point do you start looking at this and say, come on, you might have to back off? Because every now and then we have seen these pursuits come to an end and they let the driver go. It's rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, it does. In this case, all we know of and what we believe are just traffic violations, which are just that, traffic tickets. Now we have elevated it to a felony evading a pursuit, and CHP, it looks like they're going to hand off to other units, possibly Newhall CHP. But
so this guy's zooming.
Is really just weaving in and out and putting the police officers in a defensive mode because they're trying to keep up, but also they have to watch out for all that traffic as they're weaving in and out.
Yeah, I would just think at some point, you know, we know that watch commanders kind of watch and they assess the situation, but what do you think are some of the things being considered right now as they continue to pursue this driver?
Well, you know, they have to reevaluate this pursuit minute by minute. Traffic conditions.
Let me see if these are actual comms.
Pursuit, how many occupants, and the safety of the public, the officers, and the suspect.
35 and
so
34,
in this case, they know where this vehicle is registered. They may be for this pursuit, or they may stay with it until they have an airship up overhead.
Is that one of the first things they do? Is run the license to make sure you know, that car hasn't been reported stolen?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the first things they do is because they're trying to gain information on the vehicle. Is the vehicle wanted for anything? Felony, armed and dangerous, stolen vehicle, you know, wants or warrants. So they're gaining all that information in addition to the registered owner's address.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's stressful though. Boy,
Yeah.
Maybe he
watching
thinks
this-
they're gonna
this
let him get away
pursuit,
with
it
it
is
then, because
stressful
it's
because,
it's
I-5, many of us have traveled along it. You see all these big rigs and trying
so
to,
little behind it
We've
then.
seen a few times this driver get very close to a big
they
rig.
do let
We
him go
know
pretty
those poor
often.
drivers, they cannot stop on a dime, so it's
not
going to
kidding
be
you.
very
Whoa, whoa.
nerve-wracking for
Well, people
everybody
do this all the
driving
time.
in this
Sometimes
area.
if it's not a big thing,
Yeah, and you know the
and
other
they know
thing
who it
that
is,
we don't
they let 'em.
talk about or think at these speeds. This
It's
is
not
a
worth
multiple
pursuing.
1,000-pound
Southeast
vehicle.
Union Street just
It
occurred
does
San
not
Pedro
stop on
and then
dime, as you
111,
said.
San Pedro and
And it's
111.
basically a
Last
moving
seen
missile.
northbound San Pedro, suspect
It
vehicle,
certainly
black
is.
motorcycle,
Wow,
no
we're
license.
watching some maneuvering
Sorry,
with that car.
I'm defeated.
He's
Sorry,
in pure.
sorry, I had the comms open.
We have
Wrong
no
comms.
idea what he threw out the window or anything. Earlier, he was throwing something out of the window, but he certainly seems to be maneuvering that car pretty well in and out of that. But it certainly is nerve-wracking.
Some more aggressive swerving, guys. If you can hear me, it looks like he has now made his way into the Newhall area, past the Newhall
Oof,
pass, now committed
damn.
to the 5 freeway. He did have a key decision point there, whether
Get
to give
your
him
hands
a
off the
14 or stay in the
lens.
5. He has decided to stay on the 5 freeway, now passing Calgrove Boulevard, and again, looking for any inch of freeway to get away here. Something tells me they're going to take this all the way through Santa Clarita, because right now the best tactic, by my estimation, is to just let him use up as much fuel as possible. Pit maneuver, not an option here. Obviously, spike strips aren't going to work on the freeway, but they can certainly put the pressure on and keep him on the freeway and hope that he starts to run low on fuel. Again, we have no idea what that gas tank looked like when all of this started, but the 5 freeway obviously goes all the way up the state.
He has a bunch of
have
point
plenty
violations or
of
whatever.
CHP officers up and down the 5 freeway.
Just a
and
dumbass.
plenty of division offices to hand this off if they need to. Again, time is always on the side of law enforcement in a situation just like this, and I'm sure Bruce can attest that really, at this point, is the best option. Look at this, squeezing through, threading the needle, and some really frightening moments for all of these other motorists in the way here. But so far, he's shown some degree of capability and
okay,
has
praising the
maneuvered
driver's
this vehicle
skills.
fairly well. It's treating him pretty good, and he's been able to maintain control of the vehicle. Now he's
I'll
got
hop on comms
a
if he gets
large
into
shoulder
the
to play with, and again,
city.
that's that's great news, because it just keeps him further away from the rest of that freeway traffic.
Traffic has seemed relatively light, Chris. I don't know what you see up ahead, if it's going to come
For LA, it is light traffic,
to
yeah, for
a halt, but
3:30 p.m.
it seems pretty light for a Wednesday afternoon.
Damn right.
Yeah, the further north we get through Santa Clarita, the lighter it's going to get. You know, there was hope of a few traffic jams as he made his way through the San Fernando Valley, a couple of freeways joining, and then up the Newhall Pass again, where traffic kind of bunches up on the 5 freeway.
Oh, he's
but
zooming.
Now, the further away he gets from the metro LA area, the lighter traffic is going to get, and that's going to, I believe,
the comms are good, apparently?
to speed up quite a bit. In fact, we're seeing already pretty close to triple-digit speeds, about
Fucking
100
ads,
miles
man.
per hour as he passes McBean Parkway.
Oh boy.
Wow, and of course we're talking about
Ads. It's just
we're talking about this driver.
this
It
broadcast,
appears
and then you hop on it. It's just
possibly
ads for the first 3
their
seconds,
car
man. It's
because
just
they're
ads.
driving it with such fluidity to it. Bruce,
I'll probably
I'm
buy
just
premium, to be
curious
honest.
about these poor drivers on the road, and many of us we move to the right when we see law enforcement coming behind
What are you
us.
doing with
but
the
when
wipers?
You're seeing a car that's just kind of
Oh, he's trolling.
right behind you. What is your advice for people who are just driving? with
he's
their
trolling.
families, picking them up from school or on their way home?
He's saying
I
hi.
mean, it is scary.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very scary, Colleen. And you have a conflict because you're taught pull to the right of the
Fucking
road
sniper.
when you see an emergency vehicle.
Put him back on.
However, in this case,
I mean,
they're not the issue. It's this reckless driver who's weaving in and out. So with good intentions, you pull to the right, and now it's occupied by this suspect vehicle. I would just recommend to people, stay in your lane, stay your speed, let them go around you for safety's sake.
Yeah, that makes sense. Whew,
We
boy.
always see some people try to get in the way and try to block these
Yo, can we get a
drivers,
speed check on this?
especially
Can we
when
get a
they
speed check?
traffic,
What
but
are they doing with the
I'm
overlay?
always thinking, if this person is so intent on
There you
getting
go.
away, you're not
104.
necessarily safe.
Right, exactly. And plus, we've seen him go in and out of traffic, so it's hard to decipher
Yo,
where is he going to go
zoom
next.
out,
or
put the
determine
map
where
on,
he's gonna
give
go,
us
which
an
line,
overview
what
where
train
he's
gonna
at.
take, and-
Let the MPH on and let Chris
the
talk.
last thing we want anybody to do is to get involved in this pursuit.
Yeah.
All right, now
There it is,
passing
100
Magic
miles per
Mountain.
hour.
Also passing Magic Mountain Parkway there, or close to it. And after that, the traffic does get a lot lighter because there's not much after Magic Mountain Parkway. A lot of industrial
Looks like he
area.
did hit something. You see that? I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
Sure
that
do.
right.
Do you see it though, Chad?
Now dangling by a thread.
Chad, do you see
it
though?
Come in contact with somebody during all of that.
It's right there.
Weaving in and out of traffic. He is speeding up quite a bit as the freeway traffic has lightened up considerably. You said it, Colleen and Ellen. We are right next to Magic Mountain theme park, and he is continuing northbound on the 5 freeway. Those two primary units behind him serving multiple purposes, and one of the really
highway rat, man.
Great things about the pressure they're applying here is that the traffic near him is well aware of those lights and sirens that are
here's a bunch of parking violations,
so
right?
That's
But here's a handicap sign
indicator that, again, as Bruce mentioned,
which makes
best
me maybe
idea, stay in
it's
your
a
lane.
fake one.
More narrow, close calls there, but best idea for these drivers to stay in their lane and just continue to follow the rules of the road. Give this guy as much room as possible. If you see him coming up from behind you, that's really the only thing you can hope.
Location. Scales. Hey, 560 to 10, what's your 1020?
He's got all 4 lanes.
Northbound approaching SR26, passing the windshield.
90 and 100, so I think that's going to be the speed that we maintain here. And of course, if he does maintain that speed, he will exhaust more fuel faster, and that also is good news.
Got it, thank you.
We only hope. As soon as the pursuit starts, you just hope that he doesn't have a full tank or she doesn't have a full tank.
Right, and hope that the car isn't totally fuel efficient. But the Sots are pretty good. I know that I had a VW Jetta, and that little car could go for many miles without having to fill it up. So anyway, we are staying on top of this pursuit. Again, this started, the original want was an unsafe lane change, which then triggered this whole pursuit to take place.
Well, this isn't going anywhere, so you stay on the highway.
Noticing, Bruce, you are our law enforcement expert. As Ellen said earlier, you join us many times on these pursuits, numerous pursuits that are all different, and the suspects, they're just as different as the pursuits themselves. So when you see something like this, they're going
I like the immersion of the heli and the Chris.
What does it make you kind of, if you're getting into the mind of them and you're getting into the mind of authorities who really are adding the pressure, as Chris said?
Well, one of the things they're doing is you have CHP. They have multiple stations along the 5, and they'll hand it off as they need to hand off. The old adage, you're not going to outrun the radio. So they're radioing ahead, putting units in position to take over this pursuit. But, you just have an individual whose speeds, as Chris said, are just 100 miles plus. So the recklessness of this pursuit, even with light traffic, is just such a danger to everyone involved, especially the uninvolved motorists who are just driving on the freeway.
Threading the needle through 2 cars and lanes that are adjacent to each other. So, this guy has already hit his, looks like his rear view mirror on the passenger side. So who knows if there's any other scrapes, but that's going to be a scary situation, just driving along and somebody just bumps you.
Well, there's nobody, but he's going off in the city, right? What is this?
What do you say?
We were just saying it's pretty scary, Chris, when you were talking about
where the fuck is he going
on the right side. Most of these people, they're on the road, they're just minding their own business. They have no idea what's coming at them from behind, and then somebody obviously was clipped by that rear view mirror, and that's just a kind of a shock for anyone.
Yeah, I was just noticing as well. It also appears that there is some damage on the undercarriage on this right passenger side. You can see some more plastic hitting the pavement there. So he's obviously run over something as well. And there may be a surprise for him up ahead. If they have an opportunity, there may be enough open freeway where they could set up for a spike strip. That's up in the air at this point. It's not something we see often, but we have seen it occasionally, a little more frequently in recent years, where they will give it a shot if the traffic conditions allow, and if there's enough straightaway freeway for them to lay down a spike strip, and then of course for him to hopefully run over. It's got to be a narrow enough part they feel confident he won't drive around.
Production, zoom out,
road,
put the map, put the NPH, yes, put the overlay now.
I think there's a whole bunch of CHP units ahead of him, and now you see additional units coming up from behind him as well as several more patrol officers
put the map on
join the party here. and they're doing
Where are
so
we? Where are we going?
At just the right time, because the further north we get here, the lower the ceiling gets, and that's going to be prohibitive for CHP's helicopter to make their way up here. In fact, at some point, we may run into a wall of clouds that might prevent us from continuing much further. But right now, we're just past Castaic as he continues northbound on the 5 freeway. A few cars on the freeway with him.
This
There
is
are
going to
lots of
Costco or
trucks,
something.
as you can see, but he's got some more pressure now coming up from behind him.
Chris, you know, it's always interesting to notice. By the way, I want to correct myself. The side view mirror.
I think I said that first too. The rear view mirror.
Well, then I copied you
it's
as well.
my fault.
So, you know, well, anyway, we know it's the side view mirror that is dangling on the right side. But we were just seeing, Chris, can you talk about the CHP? They have a really interesting way. You know, you said, you know, there's 4 of them joining the dance, but it is really a well choreographed. What they do is so well choreographed. I swear, I just saw one cruiser fall back, another one go take the lead of the chase. They are obviously extremely well trained, but it is interesting to watch.
What's the question?
All these pursuits are different, and you do see it. It is very well choreographed.
That's right. In fact, you noticed a few minutes ago, it was the primary unit that was an SUV behind him. They have since swapped out. There's now a new team behind him. Now that lead unit is that Challenger, Dodge Charger, I should say, right behind him. So as they make their way up the freeway, again, this started on the 101 freeway. That was likely the Central LA division that initiated the pursuit. Not exactly sure where it started, but we picked it up around Hollywood.
I'll put
and
your
then once
song
he
on
got
that.
into the San Fernando Valley, their North Hollywood, their West Valley division took over the pursuit. Again, a new team of officers swapping out in a choreographed fashion, as you mentioned, Colleen. And then once again, as we make our way through Santa Clarita and points beyond, they will continue to hand this off. Division office by division, the different stations will continue to take this over, and they will communicate with the various stations up ahead that this pursuit is coming their way, and to be ready if they have the available units and resources to dedicate to the pursuit.
Bro, this is like Iceland. It's only truckers.
They're busy with other
7 truckers back to back.
They may not be able to pick up their pursuit, and then that lead unit will have a decision to make. The watch commander will make the decision, and the supervisors will work together in deciding whether it's worth continuing the pursuit much longer or whether at some point it's worth just giving it up for everybody's safety.
Truckers are fine.
In this case, they are dedicating more resources, not less.
Well, they are the foundation of America, man. What are you on about, man?
Goes all the way up the state of California, so they can continue this dance as long as there is fuel left in the tank. And I think this is probably the best bet. As I said a while ago, this is the best case anybody could hope for, is that he stays on the freeway,
runs
where
out of
the
gas.
collateral damage is minimal, and now he's made his way far up north enough that traffic is so light that the risks are even less, and as long as he stays on the freeway, it'll remain that way. It's once a driver like this that's so
Bro, I don't even think that they have.
so reckless,
They still have the air one either.
That you really start to, you just shudder at the possibilities of him running into pedestrians or other cross traffic, and you start getting involved with city traffic. Now, being as far north as we are, we have gotten away from a lot of those risks, and it's just basically hundreds of miles of freeway left in front of them.
Well, that is one positive sign.
Why don't they ask the officer good questions? Like, do they run this guy's name or plate? Is he a possible registered gun owner? Is there a risk of them being armed? Ask some questions, Busta. What are they doing, man?
Of some sort, but we'll just have to watch and see what happens. And I don't know how much fog is up in the near the Castaic area, but what's it looking like?
It's not ground fog, but there's enough of a cloud ceiling here, especially
what is this,
the
chat?
higher
Cement?
altitude we get heading up the Grapevine towards Bakersfield, where they just won't have the option at some point of flying a helicopter.
That's
up
literally
here.
that's the actual RP exit. I'm not kidding. That's the actual RP exit.
Issue, at least in the near future. Of course, again, the higher we get in elevation, that could change, but as I look off the nose here, it does look like visibility for those ground units should not play a role here, but we are making our way further up the Grapevine, and sure enough, altitude does play a role, and right now it's pretty much uphill for the next several miles.
So heckin' cool, man.
Push the pedal to the metal.
Well, let's check back with our Bruce Thomas. And Bruce, what are your thoughts on if this pursuit will continue, or will they just let it, will they kind of sit back and let the driver just kind of go peacefully if they know who he is? What would be the process?
Just backtracking a little bit what you were talking about, the choreography. What they're doing is they're swapping out primary vehicle, as Chris said, secondary and third vehicles. And that is so the officers don't get tunnel vision. Because typically in a pursuit, the lead vehicle's job is to follow the suspect vehicle. The second unit or a helicopter will call the pursuit, meaning they're giving the ground speed, the direction of travel, the streets, all those
tunnel
conditions
vision
and things which a watch commander wants. So in this case, I think they're going to continue this pursuit because there really is not a hazard to the public at this point. Obviously, this driver is now
it's a
watching
truck
for
stopper.
misdemeanor hit and run and felony evading and speed
Like
over
an RP.
100 miles an hour, which are all misdemeanor charges. But in this case, I don't think CHP is going to let this go.
Yeah, guys, we're continuing northbound on the freeway, passing Templin Highway, and pretty much, no man's land for the next several miles up until he gets to Gorman. And then on the way up there, from there, he basically will start getting closer to Bakersfield, where there will be an additional CHP office ready to take over. Look at that, a hand out the window with his cell phone.
He's filming.
Out the
He's
driver's
making
side of the
TikToks.
vehicle.
He's
Not clear what he's
TikToking.
trying to convey there,
This
but
buster.
continuing for a bulk of this
What the
pursuit.
fuck?
Every time we get a close look at him, he's got that cell phone in his hand. He's basically been continuing this chase with one hand on the steering wheel almost the entire time. But again, at some point, or just a moment ago, waving his hand at the driver's side window with that cell phone in the air. Those lead units are right behind him here. The 5 freeway, about 3 or 4 lanes as he makes his way through Gorman here. More units up ahead of him. There's actually an unrelated unit, a possible speed trap actually, that just happens to be there. And look at that. There's the spike. There's the spike, and it looks like it was a miss.
Oh,
I caught
so
it at the
fucking
corner of the
bad.
screen. A very rare, I would say unorthodox. Bruce could correct me, but I think it's maybe once a year lately that we see
why would they high
on
speed
the freeway,
spike
and that was one right there, but it did not look to be successful.
in
And
broad
check it
day
out.
like that?
CHP coming in with air resources up the Grapevine.
That's pretty rare. That's pretty rare. It's not the best spikes, not in real life.
Freeway, so more resources.
Depending on the
not
type of
less,
spike that they
being
use, they
dedicated
rarely
to this
lose control
pursuit.
instantly
We
after
saw
spikes
that
are hit,
spike
unless
strip.
it's
We'll
the other
get
ones.
a better visual of the driver's side here.
So it doesn't matter if they spike at high speeds.
There was any contact with that driver's side tire, but from my vantage point, the vehicle appears to be behaving normally, and I don't think he ran over that spike, but a good attempt nonetheless by CHP with those units in front of him.
This is not RP knowledge, this is real life knowledge.
And now a helicopter
I'm saying.
to call the shots from up above, giving that watch commander and those supervisors even more visibility as they continue to make key decisions up the Grapevine here as this pursuit continues.
That was interesting. Well, Bruce Thomas, what is your take on that use of that spike strip? That's pretty unusual to see that along the freeway, as Chris said.
Yeah, as Chris said, you don't see that very often. Maybe 1 in 100 pursuits, just because one, it doesn't present itself because of additional traffic. But in this case, excuse me, all the things came into play. Traffic was light, he was staying in a lane, and CHP was able to deploy
Marty calls
yeah,
Mr.
it's
Lang.
definitely
We
rare,
need a plan B,
but
Mr.
in this
He's
case,
going in a straight line
The
now.
only solutions. Pretty please I hacking
So
love
interesting.
RP.
But
It was really interesting, and it was really dramatic to see that CHP helicopter that just kind of go right down, hovering over the freeway. But again, they were probably trying to see it as well. I
2
don't know,
years, Bob.
Chris, do you
Can
think
I
that
finally get
CHP
a
helicopter
welcome
was
to the
trying to get an
jungle?
idea if the spike strip worked? Is that why they were so close?
No. What?
Or are they
You know,
still-
we're
maybe
playing
to
with
make
some
themselves known, like,
consolidated
yo,
airspace
you're done,
here, so
bruh.
we're pretty high up, but we're about maybe just under 1,000 feet above ground, something like that. And so they are working between us. We're giving them as much room as possible to do what they have to do.
It's just
but as
extra
we
pressure.
make our way further north here, the good news is that ceiling that I was talking about,
How
that
fast is it going?
low-level
NPH.
cloud layer, has really lifted. And as we look up further north, up the 5 freeway, it's really smooth sailing from here. That cloud layer lifts, and there should be plenty of room now for all of these helicopters to do their job. And now CHP continuing to follow from above and on the ground as this chase continues at 90 miles per hour.
Above me.
And you'll start to see that helicopter, I imagine, pick up a little bit, pick up in altitude just a little bit, but again, closing in on 100 miles per hour.
Boy, and he's still on the uphill, correct?
Still going uphill for at least the next several miles.
I think showing the heli in front of him is like, yo, bro,
probably
like,
even more than that.
your car
Probably
sucks.
The next 10 miles are pretty much
you're
uphill,
done.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're thinking
Like,
about
we got you, bro. Like, stop extending this fucking chase for no reason.
Guzzling situation where he's going to suck out all that gas.
Yeah,
It does, absolutely. Especially at these speeds. Sure, 100 miles per hour uphill, he's going to run out of fuel much faster than you or I would if we were traveling up the 5 freeway. And so that's, again, only good news. I think you can only say this is the best case scenario that any of these officers could have hoped for. And hopefully the resolution to this pursuit is just as optimal. Here comes another spike strip attempt. Maybe. Does not look like yep. Spikes across. There's the spike.
Boom! Boom! Wait, friendly fire!
Otherwise, that patrol car.
Friendly fire!
He hit it.
And it looks like the patrol car went over it, too.
No, it was still bundled up when she hit it.
The patrol, did he? You'll have to replay
Yeah, boom,
that.
boom,
like it.
boom.
I think
That's it.
the patrol car might have gone around it, but you can see now clearly that front right wheel heavily affected.
GG.
Immediately going.
There's at least two or three.
Didn't take long at all. Didn't take long at all, and now it looks like he's about to be running on empty, at least on that front right and the right rear.
Wow.
And the right rear.
Chat,
Both
why
the
did they
right
line up with
tires,
him?
are now running low
They call for
on
spikes.
air, and they will be flat here in a second.
Friendly fire.
We'll get around the driver's side if it's possible, and we'll try and get a better picture of what's going on that side of the vehicle. Not one, but two separate spike strip attempts on the freeway. Colleen and Ellen, something I have not seen in some time.
All 7 pound, bro. It is what it is, man.
Appears to have been successful in this case, and I think that's going to start to wrap up the pursuit here in the coming minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I think this vehicle is now on borrowed time as those tires begin to run flat.
Yeah, and Bruce, I could imagine that this certainly changes the color of this pursuit. I'm no longer going to be maneuvering at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish they zoomed out and give us an idea of if friendly fire, tire, spikes hit.
Being deployed. They may have gotten a CHP vehicle also.
Yep.
That's just the nature of the pursuit. I know this is a Passat and they're front-wheel drive vehicles, but if those tires deflate very quickly, they're going to be...
Okay, Bruce, we have to interrupt you. Bruce, we have to interrupt you for just one moment. It's at 4 o'clock in just 4 seconds.
Hey, who the fuck are you?
This is Eyewitness News.
What the fuck?
Breaking news right now at 4. The CHP chasing a reckless driver on the 5 freeway, speeds reaching over 100 miles an hour. Thanks for joining us, and David Ono.
And I'm Ellen Lebo. You're watching Eyewitness News at 4 live on ABC 7, Hulu, and wherever you stream. Let's get right to Chris Christie. He's live over the scene in Air 7 HD. Chris?
Guys, the pursuit continuing up the Grapevine.
Is just changing like channel inputs, right?
And they
have multiple channels, and they're probably taking over another slot or something.
Leading CHP on a triple-digit speed pursuit through the San Fernando Valley, through the Santa Clarita Valley, and up the 5 freeway, where just moments ago, not one but 2 spike strip attempts were made. The second one appears to have been successful, knocking out the right 2 tires. You're looking at the left 2 tires on the driver's side, which appear to be intact, but the right tires, both the front and the rear, have run out of air. He is pretty much running on flats on the right side. That's going to slow things down considerably as he continues.
Is he going to run on the rims, though?
At 50 to 60 miles per hour, continue going uphill with at least 4 CHP units right behind him. In fact, he's made the decision for the first time in this pursuit to get off the freeway. He ran over something, or maybe the tire came apart there, but you saw some debris flying off the vehicle, and now he's getting off at Smoky
The rim usually cuts through the rubber at one point.
Freeway.
We have a replay now of that spike strip. Oh, a big piece of tire just came. Look at that.
Boom.
The whole tread's coming off.
It sure did.
He's going to have
the pit. There's the pit. There's the pit. Spinning
Oh!
control, doing a full 180 underneath the freeway, and those those CHP units have come out the other side.
Oh
The
my
vehicle
God!
is now
What the fuck
coming
is
to a
this?
standstill on the underneath the freeway. It looks like those officers are getting ready for the vehicle. Foot pursuit.
Oh, shit!
This is going to be a foot pursuit onto the freeway. He's climbing up the embankment.
no.
He's trying
Wait.
to get on the freeway, guys. Northbound side of the 5 freeway. Some trucks coming up
Oh,
there.
shit!
And now he's in traffic.
Yo!
Northbound side of the 5 freeway. The foot chase is going to stop there because those officers will not chase him across the freeway over the divider. More oncoming traffic here, and this is so dangerous as he comes out the other side. They will be there to meet him on the other side, but they could look at that. The K9 unit starting to cross the freeway, turning around there. They will get units on the other side of the freeway within seconds here, and hopefully he will just run out of steam here. Certainly the vehicle gave up on him. You saw the tires come apart, the full tire flying off the vehicle, and then that successful pull went for a run over all of the northbound and southbound lanes of the freeway, and he is now
He wants to get a ride now.
trying to carjack a vehicle.
boy.
He's trying to
Whoa!
carjack other
Yo!
cars on the
Yo!
freeway.
What?
They're gonna have to get more
Jesus!
aggressive here if he continues this kind
Holy
of
pickup owner!
behavior. But now he is trying to carjack these cars on the
I mean,
freeway.
there is
Oh, my
a
goodness.
threat.
They're at a
I mean,
standstill, which is not helping matters.
He's just looking for an unlocked door. He's looking for any unlocked door to try and get out of the situation, but they are going to close in on him here pretty soon. I can't imagine that they're that far back. I don't want to lose him here. We're going to stay pretty tight, but I'm trying to look to see where it looks like he's trying to go down the embankment.
Maybe
off
go back to
freeway,
the
now
go back to the
going
car.
below, and they should be able to meet him. He's going back where the vehicle is. And
Oh
there should
shit!
be
That's a
officers
classic.
down there. I don't see
That's a
them, but you
classic.
would imagine that there are more
wrong with his
officers
back?
underneath the freeway,
One patrol
and
car
there's
there.
one of them.
Okay, we got someone behind him and then someone down on the ground, too.
He might be hiding under the freeway.
He's got
up
him.
the
He sees him.
embankment.
Hold
know,
up.
There's those nooks and crannies up there, as opposed to running down on the street. But there is a unit moving pretty quickly. Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's
They got him.
surrendering.
GG's.
Yep.
Up in the air.
All of a sudden.
Right, David, there were so many hiding spots under these overpasses to hide out, but it looks like he's come out the west side of the 5 freeway. He's now being confronted with a taser with his hands in the air. He's
Oh,
on
just
his
listen,
knees,
man. Come on,
not
bro.
exactly complying, but here he goes. Now about to be proned out on the roadway down below, underneath the 5 freeway, still resisting.
Jesus, man, chill, bro. What is he
Officers
doing?
on top of him, and it looks
He says he
like
doesn't want the dog, but
he
he
is
doesn't
going to be
listen.
subdued here as that K9 unit is
Blueface,
barking
baby.
very loudly and very aggressively. You can see this has now come to an end, and thankfully, nobody hurt after what could have turned into a very dangerous situation. Somebody so desperate that they were even trying to carjack innocent motorists on a Wednesday afternoon here. Fortunately, couldn't find an unlocked door. He gave up on that, and now this foot chase has come to an end.
Wow, that came to
Thank goodness.
a dynamic
It
end
certainly was.
at that.
Bro, I'm telling you, that pickup driver definitely demotivated this guy from trying more doors or trying harder.
A little bit later on, but we have a lot of news to get to. But Chris, thank you for covering this for us. And we're going to move on to other news now. 2 former Whittier police detectives have been charged with assault in a 2020 shooting that left a man paralyzed. LA County District Attorney George Gascon announcing the charges today